Pirate Pete's Giant Adventure. Hoist the sails, shouted Pirate Pete. Avast ye, wake up, squawked his parrot. You're dreaming again. Pete opened his eye. The parrot was right. They were still adrift at sea in their little rowboat. They were getting nowhere fast, and Pete knew it. Oh, I wish I had the ship, moaned Pete. Why, I'd do anything for a ship. Just then, the waves began to shimmer, and a splash of foam. A sea fairy appeared. I'll grant your wish for a ship, she offered, if you go on a special quest. What might that be, little matey? Asked Pete. Go to Thunder Island, she said, and find the sea fairy Sapphire. Pete had heard of the sea fairy Sapphire. It was a magical stone that had been stolen from the sea fairy kingdom. Return the sapphire to the ocean, she instructed, and you will be rewarded with a wondrous ship. I'll do it, agreed Pete, but how will I find the sea fairy sapphire without a map? Just follow the sound of thunder, said the fairy, but beware, for thunder does not always come from clouds. Then she disappeared. A brisk wind began to blow, and the little rowboat traveled swiftly. Soon, over the sound of the breeze came the rumbling thunder. Pete laid a hand to his ear, then checking his spyglass. Land ho, cried Pete. The Thunder Island, straight ahead. They had just come ashore when boom, 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 claps of thunder rolled. "'Tis coming from the other side of the island," said the parrot, so off they marched through the palm trees, with Pete banging coconuts and singing, "When I find the sea sapphire, and I'll get me a ship of wonder. All I got to do is follow the sound of thunder." By and by they came to the heart of the island. "What a strange-looking lagoon," said the parrot, "and with all the thundering, why does it never rain?" Boom! Another rumbling cry sounded. Pete picked up a pace and cried, "When I find the sea sapphire, I'll get me a ship of wonder. All I got to do is follow the sound of thunder." Boom, boom, boom. "'Tis getting louder," said the parrot. "We must be near." Pete looked through the spyglass. He could see something sparkling up on a hill. "Ahead, I see it," said Pete. "I sees the sea fairy sapphire." Soon they came upon a cave, and Pete stumbled in. He grabbed the glimmering blue jewel. "Why, 'twas easy," Pete cried. "Quick, throw it into the sea," said the parrot. "Then we'll get our ship." "Not so fast," said Pete. "This here is a magical wishing stone. Let's see what it can do."
"May I help you?" asked the shop lady. She had a short
Pete stared into the glittering stone and commanded, "Give me a treasure map to the world's greatest treasures." Then the stone glowed a bright blue, and in a swirl, a sea of sea mist, a map appeared. Pete tucked it into his coat. "That's enough," said the parrot. "Throw the sapphire into the sea." "Another thing," Pete told the stone, "I want the world's mightiest sword." The sapphire glowed even brighter, and a splendid sword appeared. "That's enough," squawked the parrot. "Now throw the sapphire into the sea so we can get our ship." All right, grumbled Pete, but as they left the cave, a terrific crash shook the ground. Boom, boom, boom. Pete and his parrot looked up. A giant, the parrot flapped. The thunder has been coming from a giant's big feet stomping around. Hey, grumbled Pete, looking up at the big brute. So he's the scurvy dog that hornswaggled the sapphire from the sea fairies. Then Giant caught a whiff of Pete and snatched him up. I knew I smelled a pirate. He bellowed, a stinky pirate. Not as stinky as you be, growled Pete. Oh, but you're salty too, snarled the giant. But suddenly he saw the sapphire tucked in Pete's hand. Trying to sneak the sapphire from me, he grumbled. The giant drew Pete even closer so that Pete could smell the stink of old seaweed on his breath. Do you know what I do to sneaky pirates? Nah, Pete said. I yank off their hooks, roared the giant, shaking the ground with his mighty voice, with the giant's finger wrapped tightly around him. Pete knew there was no chance for escape, but perhaps he could outsmart him. You can yank it off me hook if you wish, but Pete said you can use it to catch a big mackerel fish, but just don't throw me into the sea. The giant blinked, a bit puzzled. What? A pirate? Afraid of the sea? He scratched his head. Forget your hook, the giant decided. I'm going to pull off your peg leg. You can pull off my peg leg if you, said Pete. You can use it as a toothpick, but just don't throw me into the sea. I'll use it as a toothpick, all right? Snorted the giant. After I eats you, that is. You can eat me if you please, said Pete. You can't boil me up if you pot of stew, but you just don't throw me into the sea. You really are afraid of the sea, aren't you? Said the giant, a glint of mischief in his eyes. Well then, how about a little swim? With that, the giant hurled Pete into the sky, clinging tightly to the sapphire. Pete flew through the clouds and then back down to the sea, where he landed with a great splash. Suddenly, the waves began to churn and bubble. Then, up from the deep and amazing ship rose with Pirate Pete aboard. You tricked me, shouted the giant as he plowed into the water and grabbed the ship's anchor. We're doomed, squawked the parrot. He's pulling us in. The sapphire can't save you now, the giant laughed. No, said Pete, but my mighty sword can. Pete drew the shining sword, and with the slightest touch, its gleaming blades cut the chain. The ship was set free. Now for a bit of me on thunder, Pete shouted, fire cannon. With a tremendous boom, a cannonball shot from the ship, sending the giant fleeing back to shore. Then a mighty wind filled the ship's sail, and off she went, far and away from Thunder Island. The sea fairies had fulfilled their promise indeed. Peace, new vessel, was the most wondrous ship to ever sail the high seas. Fine sailing weather cheered the parrot, called P, unfurling his new treasure map, and with a gleam in his eye he sang, I found a seafaring sapphire, and I got my ship of wonder. I'm off again to the distant land, where there's jolly good treasure to plunder.
Wasn't much of a catch. When Mitzi hunted ghosts in the attic, mops